Hello and welcome back to the Cash vs. Trash podcast with your hosts, Rob and...
Demi, where we watch the highest and lowest grossing movie of each year from 1970 to 2021 picked at random, then decide if they deserve the title of either cash or trash.
That's right, and today we're looking at Armageddon, an American sci-fi action movie from 1998, and obviously the highest grossing movie. Yep. Starring Bruce Willis as Harry Stamper.
You might know Bruce Willis from the Die Hard franchise, the movie The Sixth Sense, or Pulp Fiction.
Or, I don't know, Tears of the Sun, Heart's War, The Fifth Element,
Unbreakable,
Glass.
Yep.
The end of... What was the one in between them? Split,
yeah. A lot of stuff.
If you don't know who... I was going to say Planet Terror before. If you don't know who Bruce Willis is...
What are you doing?
You've been under a rock for the past 30-something years.
Yeah.
We should mention, also, it was recently announced, he has been diagnosed with aphasia, which is very sad. I imagine you've seen this movie, if you're listening to this, or you will go see it, and you'll see that he is quite a good actor, I feel. For the roles that he plays, he's perfect, or was perfect, and it's a real shame, just as a human being, but also as to see an actor be pushed because of a health condition, just be pushed out of a role that really requires things that his illness or disease, I'm not too sure what you call it, just shuts all that down, which is very sad to see.
Yeah.
Sorry to take us down that road, but it had to be said. Ben Affleck as AJ.
You might have seen him in Chasing Amy, Batman v Superman, or Gone Girl.
Yep. Also, a heap of other things. Dogma. Or pretty much every one of Kevin Smith's movies he showed up in. Good Will Hunting.
Pearl Harbor.
Another Michael Bay movie.
Yeah.
Very much like this. He was just in Deep Water with his real life partner Ana de Armas. I haven't seen it, but it looks very steamy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're a hot couple.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Billy Bob Thornton as Dan Truman.
He's been in Bad Santa and also School for Scoundrels.
And Fargo, the TV show, and maybe the movie. I don't know. I haven't seen either of them, which is a very big red mark on my movie watching history. Not seeing Fargo. He was also in Angelina Jolie for a few years there somehow. I don't think anybody's ever going to crack the magic code there of how he pulled that one off. But I'm not talking about Angelina Jolie now.
Yeah.
She's still very striking, but like around the time that this was made, I think.
I have no idea.
Or
I didn't even know that they were together.
Yeah, you only found out about half an hour ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they were married for when she was making the Tomb Raider movies, I think. So, how did he do it?
Maybe
anyway,
he's a nice guy.
Yeah. We've got to write it down, but also starring Liv Tyler.
Yeah.
I think that she's probably right up there with those three.
Yeah.
You've probably seen her in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and I'm struggling to think of anything else, actually.
Yeah, I don't know.
She doesn't... Oh, I think she's currently in one of those firefighting shows. I watched that guy on YouTube who's an actual firefighter, and he's just taking them down, just talking about how crap it is.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else. Sorry, she's quite talented, so I feel bad that nothing's coming to me right now, but yeah, obviously her dad is Steven Tyler. Calm down.
He's good looking.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say he, as most of them, he looks a little bit like a piece of leather. But out of all of those old rock stars, he's the best looking.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's an attractive man.
And we will get to the fact that she is his daughter, or that, more accurately, that he is her father, in a little bit in spoilers.
Yeah, we'll save it.
Directed by the infamous Michael Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that man. He's
Crazy
something
man.
else. He is a crazy man. He is just, yeah.
He looks like he's just been pulled off the street and asked to direct movies.
Yeah. And, I mean, I've seen almost all of his movies. There's a few gaps there. I don't think I've watched a lot of his newer stuff. I think I watched about 15 minutes of Six Underground, and I was like, far out. I am puffed watching this. You will know if you've seen a Michael Bay movie. I think probably his best is The Rock. Not The Man. the Nicolas Cage, Sean Connery movie. I haven't seen it for a long time. I watched it probably well before I should have. But from what I remember, it was pretty steady, fast-paced, but better. And then it's just like he went, well, that worked. And then just cranked it every movie. Obviously, he did that in this as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us about the budget?
Yep. So the budget was $140 million. Domestically, it grossed $201.5 million. Internationally, it grossed $352 million. So a worldwide total of about $553.7 million.
Yeah.
The opening weekend, domestically, it made $36 million.
Nice.
It was released to, its widest release was 3,184 theaters, and it was in release for 26 weeks.
Which is 10 weeks longer than they filmed it for.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, which Michael Bay has stated that was a real hindrance, and a lot of the errors that you find, he sort of used that as an excuse. This was 1998.
Yep.
And as we talked in our Independence Day episode, which was 1996, when you adjust for inflation from that, it was more or less doubling. There's only a couple of years later, so let's say about the same or not quite twice as much money we're talking about now. So the budget's like $280 million, and what was the worldwide gross? It's not clear on my page.
$553.7 million.
So yeah, basically cracked $1 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah, more or less. It's very strange how they go, oh, this was the first movie to make $1 billion. And I'm like, yeah, but when?
Yeah.
When did it make $1 billion?
True, yeah. It had a 38% rating on Rotten Tomatoes with a 73% audience rating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's right, sorry.
Yeah.
I was thinking, wait, what did we do last week? Did we change that? But it was Daddy Day Camp, and that was 1%.
Yeah, but it had a audience rating of 38%.
Oh, okay, that's where I'm thinking of, yep.
Yeah.
No, that's so good.
I had the same thought process as you.
What is this movie about?
So, after finding out there is an asteroid the size of Texas on a collision course with Earth, NASA enlists the help of the world's greatest oil driller and his team to prevent Armageddon. Or, as I like to say, blow that bitch up.
Or Bruce Willis literally fucks an asteroid to death.
Literally.
Well, I mean...
He puts his giant nuke dick in
puts his giant drill dick down it, and then the nuclear explosion is the sperm, and then it somehow creates mitosis, and now there's two.
Yeah. We just spoiled it.
Oh, well, it doesn't really matter. What did you think, that they were going to make a movie that ends on a sad note and the entire Earth is just wiped out? Obviously, they're going to win.
Yeah, but we spoiled how they won and who's.
No, we didn't. I didn't say that.
You said he fucks the asteroid.
I said that he's the main guy.
We spoiled it now.
I'll cut it out.
Nah, leave it. Who hasn't seen this movie? And also...
No, I will cut that out, because there might be some people who haven't seen it, and that is a twist, and I would feel bad.
Okay.
Because this is a movie that's good enough that I don't want to spoil it.
Okay.
So I'll leave all this in, and I'll just blank what you said, So
Okay.
people will be like, what are they talking about?
We'll see how it sounds.
99% of people are going to go, oh yeah, they're talking about when that thing happens. But that 1% will be like, I wonder what they meant there. Wonder what that was about.
We'll see. We'll see how
Yeah.
it sounds.
This movie is something.
Yeah.
It's very America in the 90s. It wants to be Independence Day so bad.
Yeah, it
There's
does.
certain shots that it feels like Michael Bay, and the people who it was written by like 6 or 7 people. I don't care who those guys were. You know, when you have like 6, 7 people writing a movie, it shows in this.
Yeah.
There's so many inconsistencies and lack of so many issues that clearly it's like, oh, one person said, oh, we should do this, and then another person said, yeah, that's good, but what if we do this as well? And we'll get more into that in spoilers, but there was a fair bit of establishing certain characters, showing like who they are, what they care about, what kind of person they are, and then just doing it all
over
again.
again, yeah.
Yeah, in a much better way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They showed this movie to, was it NASA students?
They show it to NASA people going for managerial roles.
Yeah.
As like a test to see if they can point out
the faults and errors.
So far, and it's not like all up, but all in one go, or like there's been all the individual faults that have been found, I should say, it comes to 168.
Yeah.
So there's 168 factual errors and about procedures, about protocols, about, conduct, about just anything to do with space, really.
Yeah. I mean, it's not crazy that the movie is not factually correct, but it is funny that they showed it to people for them to point out
I think it's good
inconsistencies
because
faults.
Because NASA had so much involvement with the movie. I think that it's good that they go, this movie presents itself as something that's correct.
Yeah, true.
Can you tell us what's wrong with this?
Yeah.
And 168 is a fair bit. If this movie came out today with like today's cast that would be in this, because it is quite well cast, it would be torn to pieces because of the errors, because back then we didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
So now it's, well, that's wrong. This, and other than that, it's been 24 years. We know more about space and all that sort of thing. So movies, and since we've had Interstellar and Gravity and Ad Astra, I haven't actually gotten around to watching that are supposed to be, well, I don't know about Ad Astra, but Interstellar was supposed to be very fact-based.
Yeah.
Gravity was supposed to be very fact-based, although I know, obviously, for movies, you get away with a few things for the sake of a good story, but this is just like, they're sending oil drillers to space.
I bet you there's a YouTube video out there titled Everything Wrong with Armageddon.
There is. It's by CinemaSins.
Yeah.
But there'll be, those guys are hacks. There'll be like an actual, or maybe they used to get Neil deGrasse Tyson for some of theirs. It might have been back before they became hacks. I used to watch those guys. They used to be pretty good. And then they just got lazy. But there's probably one that's like every error,
false,
and it'll be an actual, like somebody who really knows what they're talking about. I would watch it, but we try to avoid watching or listening to anything about the movies that we're going to be doing a podcast on. Yeah. Because then we're just going to be copying what they say. Yeah. I think go watch it if you haven't already. If you've seen it, there's that truck again. If you've seen it but you haven't seen it for a while, I would recommend watching it again because Demi and I sat down and watched it, and there was a lot of things that we'd forgotten and a lot of things that we had made much better in our own minds, which happens a lot of the time.
Yes. I remember the first time I watched this, I really liked it, so I was excited to watch it again and talk about it on the podcast. And then we watched it, and I was like, oh.
It's kind of a bummer, hey? Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to say, especially because we watched it when we were so young.
Yeah, exactly.
And man, there is the list of movies that I watched when I was younger, and we're you might be older listening and going, you guys are still fucking young. Yeah, we're in our 20s, but I mean like when you're a kid and a teenager, and you're like, yeah, this is cool, man. This is really cool. And then you watch it, you know, once you get to like 20, 21, and you're like, oh my God, I like this. I'm just going to go right out and say it. To prove my point, when I was 15, my favorite movie was X-Men Origins Wolverine. Now, if you could use that as a threat to get me to doing something, you do it, or I'll put X-Men Origins Wolverine on. So, yeah, there's not too much more to say without spoiling it. Yeah. I mean, it's a bunch of honest American heroes go out and fight a big space rock.
Yep.
Led by Bruce Willis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Guess
we'll let the jingle take us to spoilers.
Mm-hmm. Just let it take us like a wave. It's spoiler time. Time for spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
And, Bruce Willis does indeed save the day.
Yeah.
And he splits the rock. Karate chops it.
Yeah. Such an emotional scene.
Yeah. He obviously, if you've seen the movie, you'll know he sacrifices himself at the end, saves AJ, who drew the short straw.
Yep.
And proves that he is the world's greatest father of the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does it for his little girl. My little girl is down there on Earth, and that's what I'm fighting for. And, you know, my little girl, I tuck her into bed every night, give her a kiss on her forehead, and give her a cup of hot cocoa, tell her everything's going to be all right. Daddy's going to look after her. And a lot of people say to me, oh, how old is she? You know, she sounds like she's 6 or 7. I say she's 25. They stop talking to me after that. I don't understand. I mean, I'm just looking after my little girl. My little girl. I sound more like Billy Bob Thornton there.
Yeah.
It's so hard to do a Bruce Willis voice.
We'll get into how fucking creepy he is.
I just cannot help talking about that because when he dies, he has that death vision.
Yeah.
And it's like the flashing images, which is kind of cool. Like, you know, it's like just all... And then it's like pitch black darkness, and it's him, and then it's her, and then it's him. Yeah. Which is normally the kind of thing you'd see if it was like two lovers.
Yeah.
And that just adds to the creepiness.
So weird.
Yeah, we will talk about the father-daughter stuff, not just to do with Bruce Willis. Pick that up a little bit later on.
Yeah.
But I just can't help
not mentioning it. Yeah.
My little girl, man. I gotta save my little girl. And then we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
I could just go on and on.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. For a Michael Bay movie, if you've seen his more recent stuff, you'll know that his VFX, his CGI stuff. I mean, I know he's not the one who does it, but the people he gets, he does some of the, like his movies, I should say, have some of the most pioneering, I think that is the word you should use, and like defining CGI work. Yeah. If you've seen any of the if you've seen any of the Transformers movies, you'll know what I mean, because those are like top notch. And even movies that he didn't direct, but he was a producer on, like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie and its sequel, both absolutely like chef's kiss, just so good, so well done. And my point is, he clearly hadn't gotten there yet for this movie. Yeah. Well, Independence Day came out 2 years before this, and there are some bits in that I was like, holy shit, that was CGI back then. Yeah. And then in this, like when the buildings are falling down, I'm like, that's super obvious. And I know it's the 90s and everything, but it's like, you know, if a movie that came out 2 years before yours, and this movie so clearly wants to be Independence Day, and like that, the CGI lets it down in a lot of places, I feel.
And it had a big budget as well. Do you remember what Independence Day budget was?
probably
something around this.
Something around this, maybe only
Maybe
like
less,
10.
yeah.
It was within 10, 20 million on either side. I
Yeah,
can't remember.
yeah.
I'd
So-
say it'd be more because that movie goes for longer than this, and I can check.
It's all good. But basically, yeah, a big budget.
Yes,
So not
big
really
budget
an excuse.
and yeah. But to that point, and that was one of the big names I got from that was digital domain. Holy shit.
Try again.
Digital domain. I don't know why that's so hard to say. They did a lot of the CGI. Don't get me wrong, like it doesn't look atrocious.
Yeah, yeah.
It's certainly good. There's movies that come out now that look worse than this.
Yeah.
But it just, to me, was just a bit of a letdown. Especially because Jurassic Park was 93, I think. So 5 years before this. And it looks better than either of those. Although, that's not a very good comparison, but between this and Independence Day, it's pretty, I'd say, they're very similar.
Yeah, very.
Independence Day is better, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think so too.
Yeah. No, I mean, to anybody who really loves this movie,
Yeah.
Independence
enough,
Day does it better.
Yeah.
Because it's, obviously one's alien invasion, one's an asteroid, but basically a group of all-American heroes team up to stop a space threat.
Yeah.
That causes a lot of destruction.
Yeah.
Yeah. The CGI might let them down in a lot of places, but the special effects are quite good. I couldn't find a specific company that did stuff like the set design for, which I know isn't special effects, but for the asteroid environment itself, which is the highlight of the movie, I think.
Yeah.
But the effects done on, and I think I've got this right, for the space station exploding was Wonderworks, and for the rock storm on the asteroid was Tippett Studio.
Yeah.
If I've got that wrong, it just means that it's the other way around. But those two parts were like highlights of the movie for me.
Yeah.
And I think that, or maybe one of those was when that first space shuttle explodes, which.
Also, we should mention the footage of the rockets were real.
Oh, yeah. The launch pad scene where the rocket took off was real, and the camera that was closest to it vibrated so much that all of the nuts and bolts and lens and everything, whatever, came apart, and they had to ship it back to Panavision in a box all separately.
Where they put it back together, yeah.
Yeah. That's just... But, I mean, good on them. For that's one of the best parts of the movie, I think. Just
you're
maybe
watching the launch.
Yeah, maybe it's because just watching that is so awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
Just seeing that much man-made power. Just, it's like the same sort of feeling as, when you're just sitting there in a thunderstorm and like hearing the noise of the thunder.
Yeah,
And that's nature. It's like that. You're just like, how is this even possible? And to get a real launch, I think, was a really good idea.
Yeah.
You can fake it as much as you want, but the real thing just looks so good and so intense.
Yeah. So I guess around the time that they were filming, there was launches already happening.
Yeah.
So they just took that. Or
maybe even beforehand. I don't know. Maybe because they were in contact with NASA, they were like, "Oh, by the way,
we're doing this."
Yeah. That's because Michael Bay is quite good at getting military and NASA cooperation for all of his Transformers movies. He, for like the first three at least, I think he had a lot of military cooperation, which gave them access to a lot of vehicles and locations and stuff. So I think it's the same thing here. He did say that. He was a bit worried about cooperation with the Air Force after the scene with the gun.
Yeah.
But they were like, under the circumstances, it's fine.
Yeah.
And I think that lends a hand to the way that this movie looks, and the locations that they use really help out, I think.
Yeah. As well as that, the actors, there's a lot of actors in this movie. Big cast.
Do you want me to rattle off the cast?
Go ahead.
All right. 2 seconds. All right. Bruce Willis, Billy Bob Thornton, Ben Affleck, Liv Tyler, Will Patton, Steve Buscemi, William Fichtner, Owen Wilson, Michael Clark Duncan, R.I.P., Peter Stormare, Ken Hudson Campbell, Jessica Steen, and Keith David, Jason Isaacs. Yeah, those are like the main.
Yeah.
I skipped over one or two there that are just like one guy who's just some dude. I don't know why he's above Jason Isaacs, but anyway.
Yeah. We felt like the standouts or the highlights were Billy Bob Thornton and Ben Affleck.
Yes. And Peter Stormare.
Yeah, and William Fichtner.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Bruce Willis did a very good job, but he's like the straight man in the movie.
Yeah.
There's only one scene where he's kind of crazy in the oil rig. But other than that, he is like your typical American hero.
Yeah.
You know, he's not even as jokey as Die Hard, where he's cracking wise all the time. In this, he's very stoic and noble a lot of the time. Bit of a charm and sense of humor, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't have as much to do as those others.
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone in this movie, I think, is good. Even like right down to just like the whatever roles, like that guy who hacks into the thing and stops the bomb from going off.
Yeah.
He did a good job, and he only had like a scene and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
all cast really well.
Yeah.
But obviously the character of like AJ, he has a lot of emotional growth and change and everything. And
does he? I wouldn't say as much growth.
Probably not growth, but we just see him do a lot more.
It's the movie, I think, tries to show that he's like taking responsibility, and we'll talk more about it in the story, but I don't think that it works. But the acting
was
the acting
good.
is
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
And also,
And it's Ben Affleck, man.
Yeah. Truman.
Oh, Billy Bob Thornton, yeah.
He has to do a lot.
Yeah. The
and
movie
make the
was
decisions
originally more about him. Like, he was more the focus, like him and Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Which you see that in a few scenes. They very play off of each other a lot. But after Titanic was released, the script was changed to have a much more of a focus on the romance, because that's what everyone loved about Titanic. The difference is, it was good in Titanic.
Yeah, it's forced here.
The movie Titanic is completely wrapped around the idea that this is a love story that was tragic because of where they were, not this was a love story that was going on while the fate of the world was in play.
Yeah.
So
it's a little bit forced here.
I think it's very forced.
Yeah.
I think like the love story itself is fine, but the focus on it is forced, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Peter Stormare is always good.
Yeah, amazing.
I could never remember his name up until like a few months ago, but he was one of those guys that every time I would see him on screen, I was like, yes, I love that guy.
Yeah.
He was the devil in Constantine. He was the guy who got eaten by the compies in Jurassic Park 2. He was the Russian guy at the start of John Wick 2, who was talking about how badass John Wick is. He was in... Was it him that was in Prison Break as well?
Yeah.
Him and William Fichtner was also in Prison Break.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, as soon as you see him, you're like, yeah.
Yeah, and
that
his
guy's
character
good.
is so funny.
Yeah. Oh, and this, I should say.
Yeah.
Is another thing that I remember him from very fondly. He probably one of the best parts of the movie as a character, but he really brings it to life.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. This big shot in Russia that obviously none of these guys have ever heard of because they're all American.
Yeah. Poor guy, he's been stuck in space for 18 months on his own.
And then just gets wrapped up in saving the planet.
Yeah, with these lunatics.
I think he's just as crazy as the rest of them.
Yeah.
And William Fichtner, a lot of the time very similar to Bruce Willis, very stoic and everything, but there's just that one scene where he's got the gun on him, and he's another one that you see all over the place, and you're like, yeah, I like that guy.
Yeah.
He's always good. I don't think I've ever seen him in anything where I'm like, what is he doing? But that scene where Bruce Willis has got the clamp or whatever down on his neck, and they're like yelling at each other, and he's like, "You swear on your daughter's life, you swear on my family's life that you'll do this."
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's like intense.
Yeah.
The difference is though, that was just that one scene, and he's good throughout the whole movie. But like Peter Stormare and Ben Affleck, I wasn't really thinking about their acting. I was just watching them and enjoying it.
Yeah.
So maybe that it was just because that one scene was so good that I was like, yeah, William Fichtner. But he is a good actor.
Yeah, but that's like, other than that, he mainly just drives the plane, flies the shuttle. Yeah, and just says like, we need to do this and we need to do that.
He's like the typical untrustworthy military government guy for a lot of it. You know, he thinks he's better than them, but then I think that he does a really good job of showing with the bomb stuff and like the conflict they have. As much as I think that whole stuff all that stuff is just kind of pointless.
Yeah.
Like, they're in space. There's enough going on.
Yeah, you don't need that.
Yeah, I think they ramp it up. That's just that little bit too much. Where I'm like, who cares? But you can tell that he's like, I don't like this, but I'm a military man. These are my orders. This is what they've told me to do. I have to do it. This is just how it works.
Yeah.
And Bruce Willis and Will Patton are there like, no.
We're here. We're doing it.
This is our job. We'll get it done. Like, and Will Patton has probably the best, if not the second best line in the movie, which might go to William Fichtner, where he says, "What are you doing with a gun in space?"
Yeah.
And like the way he says it, that's this movie is just filled with guys who, every time I see them in a movie, I'm like, yeah. Because Will Patton's another one that he's less famous, I guess, or prolific than William Fichtner or Peter Stormare, but he's another one that every time I've seen him in something, I'm like, yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Who else is there?
Steve Buscemi.
Oh yeah, Steve Buscemi. He's great. Just Steve Buscemiing around.
Yeah.
He got tricked into doing this movie. He got pitched a heroic geologist who he said the role would be good to do a heroic, noble role because
different from what he usually does.
Yeah, he was normally cast as sleazebags and like dodgy guys, and then once he was cast, they changed the script to make him more sleazy. Yeah. You know, like sleeping with underage girls on accident, apparently.
Yeah, that whole gag didn't work.
Yeah, and like how he had to show Grace, Liv Tyler's character, how to use a tampon and Bruce Willis is rightfully so, like, I'm gonna fucking kill you right now.
Yeah.
And although he is like, I told her, I didn't show her, which, that's her fault for wording it wrong. Cause, that's Bruce Willis's little girl.
Yeah, it's weird that they chose to go with him being like a creepy pedo accidental or whatever. But I do like how he slowly goes insane.
Yes.
Being in space.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, and just kind of like fucks up a lot of the time.
Yeah. I think it's good how he's, kind of jokey and stuff when they're on Earth, but then when they get up to the asteroid, you can see like he's worried about what happened to the other guys on the other spacecraft, and then he's like, you fucked this up. We were supposed to land 26 miles away.
Yeah.
Which is I'm not going to do the maths. I'm not. However many Ks away.
Yeah.
Like 40 something. Let's say 50 odd. Ks away. Well, it wouldn't even be that much.
Either way.
Let's say 40 something Ks away.
Yeah.
For our non-US listeners.
Yeah.
Or North American. And which is a fair distance.
Yeah.
And he's like, because this is iron graphite, it's going to be so much harder, which it does prove to be. That's what leads to a lot of the conflict. But he has those couple of good scenes where he's really serious. And then they do, I think, a good enough job of showing his, like you said, his gradual decline.
Yeah.
And he starts joking around a bit, and then he rides the nuke once it's been
Yeah.
deactivated. But there's a scene of him stand up just looking at the Earth, and that's when it's like when his breakdown really starts. And we laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed when William Fickner says he's got space dementia. I can't say it without laughing.
Space dementia.
It's such a ridiculous name. But I looked it up before we started recording because I didn't want to make fun of it and then be like, oh shit, it's real. And it's real.
Yeah.
That's an actual thing. It's exactly as they depicted in the movie. The human mind, and it's fair enough, really can't comprehend that. Like, I've seen it in a million movies, and like seeing, where they expand out from Earth and that, it does mess with your head a lot.
Yeah.
Like you have a full-on existential crisis. Now imagine that, but you can just go outside and distract yourself.
Yeah.
Sorry, no. Imagine that compared to real life, where you can just go outside and you can touch grass
on Earth,
and you can distract yourself, Imagine that, but you're in space. So you can't just block it out, because everywhere you look is the void.
And you're on the asteroid that's probably gonna blow up the Earth. Yeah,
like he just goes full on suicidal.
Yeah.
He's like, we've got a front row seat to the end of the world here.
Yeah.
And then, he accidentally uses not accidentally, but just doesn't really think, and uses the minigun and almost kills everyone. And they duct tape him. Then there's like Michael Clarke Duncan, rest in peace. Great, funny actor. He had a lot of trouble. This was like his first big role, and they almost recast him because he was so nervous. But I think that after Bruce Willis and Michael Bay had a chat to him, as was in trivia and whatever, he really picked it up, and I think he did quite a good job.
Yeah.
He's not in it much. I think he got a bit ripped off because he's in the whole movie and has a fair few scenes, but he's not in the opening credits. I'm like, that's some classic 90s Hollywood racism right there.
Yeah, what the hell is that about?
Especially because he lives through the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's pretty sucky.
And maybe in retrospect we're saying that because, then he went on to be in The Green Mile. But I don't know, maybe that's just how it worked then. But I think having somebody in the whole movie is it's kind of a rip-off to not have them then be in the opening credits.
Yeah,
I think
that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that irked me.
Yeah.
Owen Wilson is in this for about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
All up of his screen time. He just comes out of nowhere. He's another geologist. He has a few scenes, and then he's killed off. He has a better death than the other guy, who I forgot who his name was. He only has 2 scenes with him, and you don't even actually really see him die.
Yeah.
His chair just gets ripped off the thing.
Yeah.
The pilots get a better death than he does.
I forgot about it. I forgot about him until you just said it.
Yeah, Noonan.
Yeah.
I thought that he was Gruber until in the movie they're like, oh, Gruber's dead. And I'm like, fuck, that's Gruber? I thought that was that other guy.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else? Do you want to... Oh, Max, the guy who plays Max. Ken Hudson Campbell, I think I said his name was. He was good. I don't think I've seen him in anything else, or I don't recognize him from anything else, and I'm not going to look at IMDb right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jason Isaacs as the supposed smartest man on Earth, who apparently can't put a drill together.
Yeah, that guy seemed like a wanker.
But why was he there? He's the smartest man on Earth, and he figured out to just drill into it, and but he couldn't figure out how to make a drill.
Yeah.
I just think, why not just have him be some rando who comes up with the idea?
Yeah, exactly.
Because he doesn't do anything for the rest of the movie. If you're going to have the smartest man on the planet, have him at the last minute be like, oh, we should do this and this and this.
Yeah.
And figure out the thing. In all the behind-the-scenes stuff, everybody is just having the most fun. Because they all knew that this was a piece of shit. Sorry, shouldn't say that. That this was a pretty whatever movie.
Yeah.
I think Ben Affleck thought it was a piece of shit. He tore into this movie as soon as it came out.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ben Affleck probably trashed this movie because he was traumatized by being directed by Michael Bay.
Yeah, the Bayos and Bayhem himself.
Yeah.
The Ben Affleck has a very funny quote. I think it's on one of the commentaries. He said, he went up to Michael Bay and said, really, like, wouldn't it make more sense for them to train the astronauts or something like that? And Michael Bay says, shut the fuck up. This is a real plan. This is going to be good. You know, just shut up. I don't want your opinion. And, you know, and then Ben Affleck was just like, yeah, okay. And
He
just
should have
acted.
listened.
Yeah.
Michael Bay should have listened to Ben Affleck.
Oh, they should have given him more than 16 weeks to make the movie, I think.
Yeah, true. But it would have been easier to teach the astronauts how to drill. Or just combine the teams more than what they did.
You point it at the ground and you hit a button.
Well,
it's not drilling for oil.
Yeah, true.
It's you just pick a spot and you drill.
Yeah.
Right?
Or have the astronauts be the majority of the team that goes up and have a few of the drillers sprinkled in with them to be like, hey, no, do it this way.
You only need
Harry, AJ,
Rockhound, and Oscar. Yeah. Who's Steve Buscemi and Owen Wilson, the geologists.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, because they're geologists who also work on mining crews. And then have all astronauts filling out the rest of it, right? Yeah. Also, why only send 2 ships up? Why is it only America sending ships up?
Exactly.
Why not have it be like, oh, the Russians have sent a ship up, or 2 ships up, and they were destroyed.
Yeah, so we'll try.
Yeah. Why is it 18 days? Why does it have to be such a short amount of time? This movie would be exactly the same, but 10 times more believable if even if they sent all the oil drillers up like they did, if they gave them 1 year.
Yeah.
If they said, let's get Harry Stamper, and he said, I want my team.
Yeah. And then they properly trained them. Yeah.
I would be like, yeah, cool. They gave him a full year to give him all this astronaut training. It's still pretty unbelievable, but it's in the realm of possibility. Not, okay, we've got, because when they go up there, they go up to the thing, which takes a while, then it's 60 hours to around the back of the moon. So they train for maybe 10 days?
Yeah.
If that.
So you could still have it where, like, for the movie's purpose, have it, like, you know, the last friggin' second before he pushes the button for that dramatic effect. But at least have them have, like you say, a year's experience. Yeah. Or something.
Yeah.
Bit more than what they did have.
Because it's like, what's harder? Being an oil deep, what do they call it? Deep core Earth? Driller? Yeah. Or going to fucking space. Yeah. Like, what do you think is the harder job? And I'm absolutely not knocking those guys who work out on oil rigs. I never want to step foot on one of those, let alone actually work on that. Just, I don't, like... Hats off to them. Yeah, they're tough as nails. I'm sure it's a hard, fairly complicated job, but there's a big gap between drilling a hole in the ground, like technicality-wise. I'm not saying it's not dangerous, because it's dangerous as. Plenty of people have been killed, maimed, traumatized, all that from absolutely not knocking those guys.
Yep.
But if you compare them to actual astronauts, it's like comparing... I don't know, I don't know. I mean, like, the comparison would be an oil driller to an astronaut. Yeah. So, like, I shouldn't have to come up with another thing.
You've just done it.
Yeah. So, I think the movie would be just as good if it was more of like a snobs versus slobs movie where they have to work with the astronauts and or even have like 4 jets going up there and like 2 astronaut ones and 2 oil rigger ones, and have the astronaut ones just fail miserably.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or only succeed because the oil drillers, whatever you want to call them, help them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just think that is just such a leap in logic, and it's so hard to suspend your disbelief when it's that.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, and Michael Bay thought it was such a good idea.
Yeah.
So
he's wrong.
Yeah.
Get Ben Affleck to remake this movie.
I don't think he would want anything to do with Michael Bay again.
Yeah.
Because I think, was it before or after this that he did Pearl Harbor?
I don't know.
It must have
Probably
been after.
It looks a bit older.
Why did he come back?
I don't know.
Why?
Because Michael Bay got him all new teeth.
Yeah, it might have been that. Yeah, it might have. Yeah, which is so weird. He thought that Ben Affleck had baby teeth, and was like, "I'll spend." I think it was something like $200,000, something ridiculous. That figure could be wrong because it's teeth.
Yeah.
But I'm like, holy shit.
Well, to get all your teeth replaced would probably be...
Are they replaced? Or are those like...
Like veneers or...
I don't know is that like a caps that get put on?
Yeah.
It must be, because if somebody said to me, hey, we're going to pull all of your teeth out and replace them, I'd say, what?
Yeah.
So...
Must be veneers.
Yeah, it must
be
veneers.
Yeah.
But... I mean, he's been wearing them ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know enough about dentistry.
Yeah.
And I didn't look into it because I was like, I mean, I can't imagine that affected its popularity.
No.
One thing about this movie was it was going up against Deep Impact, which came up the Deep Impact came out a couple of months before this, which is recorded as compared to this is way more... accurate, scientifically accurate.
Yeah.
But it's still a movie from the 90s, so how accurate could it be? But they are very similar. I think that one's a lot less happy.
Yeah.
So they added in the asteroid hitting France later on to differentiate, or to like spice it up a little bit.
Yeah.
To like help this out compared to that. I don't know how that works because I haven't seen Deep Impact in a long time.
I haven't seen it at all.
Really? I can't remember too much from it. I know that my mum loved this and didn't... She was the one in my family who sort of got me into movies, and she really liked this because it's a Bruce Willis movie, and Deep Impact, I think, had Morgan Freeman in it. I can't remember much else about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, so I think I've only seen Deep Impact once, but I've seen this a few times. And, yeah. I don't know why they needed to add that in. That's another bit where the CGI kind of let it down.
And it seems like they just sort of threw that in there for whatever.
Yeah, because nobody reacts to it other than... like people that we've never seen before. None of the main characters react to it. It's clearly Billy Bob Thornton looking at the screens for something else, and they're talking about France.
Yeah.
The weird thing for me there is it looks like a dramatization, kind of like the start of the movie with the 65 million years ago thing.
Yeah.
It looks like something they'd use to, this is what would happen if a meteor struck, or an asteroid struck a major city. And I'm like, coolsies, I guess.
And it's such a huge impact.
Deep impact, you might say.
But like you say, no one really reacts to it, so it's sort of like, what the hell was that? It's just weird.
And then it's just whatever.
Yeah.
It's never mentioned. Then it's not like Bruce Willis doesn't hear, France has just been wiped out.
Yeah. Also, get to it.
Yeah, it's an American movie, so they're not going to go, oh no, France.
Yeah. Just one of the many writing faults in this movie.
Writing, and I think that was Michael Bay's decision, though, because he directed and produced this.
Yeah.
Which means he has extra control. Yeah. Editing was typical Michael Bay stuff, shot the entire time.
Vertigo, the movie.
It's so fast.
So crazy.
The bit where because I know when we were talking about before, I said there was nothing that stuck out as good or bad, like really good or bad. One bad thing was the initial destruction of the space shuttle that's up there. It is just edited so quickly, and I'm like, oh my god, either it didn't look good, which it did, the bits that you can see it looks quite good, or he wasn't happy with it and it was supposed to be more intense. they're in space, and asteroids, meteors and meteorites and whatever you want to call them, little bits of space debris, something, are wiping them out. That's exciting enough. You know, it doesn't need to be like
A
Bad
giant
Boys.
explosion,
Yeah.
The only thing I can say about editing is a few times I had to look away because, like, it was making me feel sick.
Yes, you get dizzy very easily.
I do, yeah. But there was so much spinning and shaking and explosions and lights. And
Yeah.
it'll give you a headache and it'll make you feel nauseous.
In case you're really worried, there's a roundabout that we have to go through to get to our house. And sometimes when we've got our kids in the car, I will go like around it a couple of times because I love it. And I go around one full time and you're like, please, no, not again.
Yeah, I'm like,
getting
please
dizzy.
stop.
So... Yeah.
I am a bit more sensitive to it, but you gotta admit there's a lot of spinning and
Yes,
shaking.
there is.
Yeah.
And a bit too much.
Yeah.
A bit too much.
It happens a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think one weird thing is the asteroid is supposed to be spinning on all three dimensions or whatever they say. So it's supposed to be spinning around like this and around like this. So it's supposed to be like hurtling.
Yeah.
But when they're on it, it just looks like it's cruising along.
Yeah, it never
And
looks like it's spinning.
Yeah, I think that would have really helped with like the save all of it for when they're on the asteroid.
Yeah,
you know, because it's such an alien world. I think that the design of the asteroid is like peak set design.
It's really good.
For what they were going for, I think is quite good. There is one weird editing bit where when Grace and Harry are arguing on the oil rig, and she seems like she's mid-sentence and it cuts out to Truman.
I didn't notice.
It's not egregious, but I was like, oh, it seems like that scene was going to go on for a bit longer.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like a definitive statement, then it cuts and comes back. There were bits where I was like, who the fuck is that? Who's that? Who's that? Like on the space station, I thought that scene was quite good, but I was like, who is this?
Yeah.
Who am I looking at here? Those people look like they're going this way, but like Harry's like, oh, we can't leave without AJ, but they're going on separate ships.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't make sense for him to go back.
Yeah.
It was just confusing because of like...
You didn't know where they were going.
Yeah, because all the tunnels of the space
where.
station or corridors or whatever you want to call them all looked the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was hard for me to
I was a bit lost
pick
there
it.
too. Yeah.
Other than that, I think that it was good. My only other issues with any of this stuff are some weird story choices.
Yeah.
Stuff like Carl and Dottie.
I love them.
Which he names the asteroid because he finds it. He's
the first person.
Is he is he like somebody who does it for fun? Because that's a pretty big...
I think so, yeah. Because she's pretty pissed off with him.
Yeah.
So he must just constantly be looking through that telescope.
That's a big telescope for fun.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like, that's his job.
Yeah.
But they live like way out in the desert because they were in a caravan or something when he's on the phone to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, he names the asteroid Dottie because it's, just like his wife, it's a soulless... killing machine or something like that. Some horrible thing. She's like, oh, when he says it.
Yeah. And then, but I love them.
The classic married couple who have been together for 40 years.
They just hate each other.
Scream at each other at every chance that they get, but are still together for some reason.
You might have forgotten these two because they were in the beginning and then for 2 scenes and then you never see them again.
Yeah.
But they left an impression on me.
They left more of an impression than Eddie Griffin's character, the bike messenger guy.
Oh, yeah.
I only know his name because I've seen him in a bunch of other stuff. I mean, I've never seen him in any dramatic stuff, only comedies, and he acts exactly like this in pretty much everything he's in.
Yeah.
You know, he was in Undercover Brother. I think he played Undercover Brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. That reminded me the most of Independence Day.
Yeah.
Whereas in Independence Day, when it introduced you to a character, they came back in the movie and had a resolution.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, it's like, oh, we'll get to know the people. Eddie Griffin and his piece of shit dog, and this other guy who's running the
He's selling the Godzilla toys.
stand,
yeah.
and they have an argument, and the little meteorite or whatever hits that guy, and you see, like, and it's quite well done. The special effects are all quite well done, I think. Like a wall of smoke and debris and brick just wipe out Eddie Griffin and his dog and all the people around, and then he just gets up, and he's like, "Oh, my dog,"
and the dog's on the longest fucking lead in the world.
The dog's fine.
It's being strangled.
Yeah,
but, it's fine.
Well, it hasn't been obliterated by a meteor, but the guy had hit. He wasn't just incinerated and ripped to pieces. He's just dead in a ditch. Yeah, and it's like, oh, and Michael Bay said, "You never kill a dog."
Yeah,
pussy.
Yeah.
I think if you want people to get on board for wanting the asteroid, I said asteroid to be destroyed, kill a dog. Yeah. Have it kill a dog.
Have it kill the dog, yeah.
You have a million dog lovers going up into space. Also, it was completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
You don't need to introduce us to a specific character to have us care about death and destruction raining down on a city. Because in that scene also, there's like buildings coming down. And that was in Independence Day. It shows you little snippets of New York and Washington, D.C., or mostly New York, before it's destroyed.
Yeah.
And that was what they were going for here, but
it didn't quite get the same.
And Eddie Griffin never comes back.
Yeah.
Like he's not someone important. He doesn't have any connection to anything. There's no scene. Like, he doesn't then go talk to, like, Max or Bear or Noonan and then, like, say he's, like, Bear's brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, then, Bear can be like, I don't have any kids or anything, but, I got a brother and his dog and whatever, and they were impacted by this, so I care. Have anything to make me give a shit about this guy. But he's just whatever.
I know, right?
At least Carl and Dottie see
the asteroid. Yeah.
Or have him be ringing NASA or something like. Oh, even worse than that is that random taxi driver and the two. I think they're Chinese or let's just say Asian.
Yeah.
Passengers. And one of them, the woman's like, I want to go shopping. And I'm like, what in the name of racist stereotypes is this? Like, and then you do see them running away from the destruction. It's not like they were important. It's not like later on you see them come in they're super, like astrophysicist people who just can't speak very good English or something like that.
They've just given too much significance to random characters that don't mean anything.
Yeah. And like I was saying, Carl and Dottie at least.
At least they were the first ones to see it. Yeah.
And they do something. The entire oil rig scene can go.
Yep.
Everything.
Yep.
Except for maybe Grace and Harry arguing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. And obviously when they come to... No, never mind.
No, I want to hear what... No, I just really want to say...
When they come to get him...
I think that's fine. Oh, no, because Bear and Rockhound are there, and then it wouldn't make sense. Yeah, that whole scene. Have them be in a different location, I think. Because it doesn't make any sense that in the 3 days since he tells everyone to go home, after they struck oil...
Yeah.
So that's not a good business decision.
Yeah.
Oh, we just struck oil, which is our job. Let's all go home now. And in 3 days, they send the FBI or CIA or whoever the fuck, government, after them all to get them in for this. And then they all act like they haven't seen each other in months.
Okay, so are we like fucking crazy or what? Because it's 18 days. They're talking about it. They're like, we have 18 days before this fucking thing hits Earth. And then they go and get Harry. And...
I love it when you get mad.
And then, they get him and whatever, then they have a chat with him. And then when he says, I want my own team and this is who they are, and they go and recruit the rest of the team, then after that, it's 15 days.
Yep.
So AJ has started up his own business
Oh, yeah,
in
that's the
3
worst
days.
one.
Everyone else is acting like they haven't seen each other in like 3 years.
Mm.
They're all just doing some random thing after they were just in the middle of the friggin' China Sea.
South China Sea, yeah.
Yeah, and exactly, so they would have had to fly home and
Yeah.
do all of that in 3 days.
Yep.
Are we missing something here?
I don't know. It's one of those things where I think that's where I think the 6 or so writers for this movie doesn't work because there's no consistency with the timing there.
No.
Or you could have the oil rig scene and just not show any of those other guys, but then it's like, why does he want them if they weren't working on his oil rig?
Well, what I think is you could have the oil rig scene, but have that be, I don't know, like the year before or whatever, and
But
then
that doesn't
have
make
him
But why would it
then
be
have
in the
them
movie? Because it's supposed to be like a
to
quick
show
thing.
that they're so good at drilling.
Okay, but alright, let's get in the best oil driller in the world. Cut to a year prior. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
They have
Just
to-
show that they're
No,
the best
I
drillers.
know that they have to show that, but that's where the only real problem is the 18 days.
Yeah.
It doesn't
true.
need to be 18 days.
Mm.
An asteroid coming to hit Earth, you don't need to have it cut so fine.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
he can hit the button or whatever when there's 1 second left before it would be pointless. Great. But give them a year to train.
Exactly.
And have him get called in and we find out everything and have all the astronauts do it and show the astronauts failing to understand what they need to do. And then he goes, look, I want my own crew.
Yeah.
And have it be 6 months later or like 2 months or a month or whatever later. That's plenty of enough time for these guys to go off yahooing, right?
Yeah.
That's maybe enough time to have AJ buy his own company because he's got 5 years experience working for Harry, maybe more before that. He's probably got a shit ton of money, and Chick says, this Will Patton's character says, he's the best guy on our team.
Yeah.
So it's not unbelievable that he'd get his own oil rig system company, whatever.
His own business.
Yeah, business, I should say. But in
3
days,
yeah.
if he already owned it, why was he working for Harry?
If he already owned it, they didn't show us that.
Yeah.
So we don't know that.
And it doesn't seem that way because he's like, I'm my own boss now.
Yeah.
So I think if you change it from 18 days to 18 months, that every big problem goes away.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of problems with the timeline in this movie. Like, they say it's a 60-day trip from the space
60
station.
hour.
What did I say?
60 days.
Sorry. 60-hour trip from the space station to the moon where they go to 11 Gs, which is like, I'm pretty sure you die. Around the moon and then slingshot onto the back of the asteroid, right? I have no problem with that craziness because whatever.
Yeah.
It's a sci-fi action movie. My problem is they pick up Peter Stormare from there after accidentally destroying through someone's fault. It's not really clear. Destroying the space station. So they take him with them. Good. He's experienced. He can help.
Yeah.
Great. Then it just cuts to them at the moon. Which tells me, because I forgot that it was 60 hours until the second time we watched this, which tells me, as the audience, that was no more than a couple of hours.
Yeah, that's the sense I got too. Yeah.
And then things reinforce that later, like Lev, Peter Stormare, doesn't know that they're not astronauts. 60 hours with someone and you don't get the one basic piece of information that they're not actually astronauts is insane to me.
Yeah.
Even if he thought that all but one of them was a astronaut, the fact that he doesn't know that any of them are oil drillers just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. And you also lose that sense of camaraderie. Like, the pilots of the Independence die, and it's quite a good death. And those two actors do a good job of it, of like the horror of it. They get sucked out, they get smashed and then sucked out the thing, and that's quite horrifying. And I thought that was quite well done. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
I don't fucking know these guys.
Yeah.
One of them has 5 lines, the other one has 2 lines or something like that. I don't know who they are. I don't know what they like. I don't know their interests. There's no scene of them bonding or getting along or anything with anybody else. There's nothing to make me actually care that these 2 guys just died horrifically.
Yeah.
So Owen Wilson dies, and yeah, he's Owen Wilson. Wow. But in the movie itself, he has a few scenes to make you get what kind of a guy he is and care when he's very suddenly killed. I forgot that he died so early on.
Yeah.
The only one that I really remembered other than Bruce Willis was Max, because he has a pretty intense death as well. So why not cut down on, like, just cut all the oil rig stuff down and show the camaraderie being built, and like we get to know these characters. Like maybe one of the pilots is really into fucking juggling. I don't know. But like, I know that's silly, but give him a character trait other than stern colonel.
Carl and Dottie had more character traits than these 2.
That's what I'm saying. Cut all of that shit out and make us care about the characters who are having bad stuff happen to them. It doesn't make sense to me. They're in real peril, and these guys are like, yeah, time to suck it up, bitches. And one of them's like, this is it, oh my god. And then they scream and scream and scream, and I'm like, okay, that's effective. Those 2 guys who I can't remember their names.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't even remember what they look like.
One was short, not stumpy, but like shorter and broader with grey hair, and the other one was taller and almost a bit leaner with brown hair. That's all I remember about them, and one of them says, time to suck it up, and then they die.
Yeah.
Same as Noonan, though.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be one of their good mates, and he's just dead. We don't even really know when he died, to be sure. Obviously in the crash, but it's not pinpointed.
Yeah. Time to talk about why is Harry so fucking obsessed with his daughter, and why is he so toxic about it?
He was a blue-collar father in the 90s. So if he didn't try to kill Ben Affleck for being an adult sleeping with his adult daughter, then he's not a good dad, is he?
That is so strange. Like, oh no, my daughter, and like you said, my adult daughter is in an adult relationship.
Yep.
This cannot happen. I must kill this motherfucker.
This will not stand.
That's my daughter, and she can't be with another man. Like, it's weird, right?
It's very weird.
It's so weird.
When we first started watching the other day, we watched it twice, as you know, once for fun and once to take notes. We were like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I forgot that he actually shot at him. I knew that he got the gun, but I thought it was like what 90% of movies do is have him wave the gun around and then somebody talks him out of it. He just starts shooting at the guy.
It's so crazy and intense for no reason. Like, why can't she be with AJ?
Because Bruce Willis wouldn't be a good dad if he let his daughter be her own person, which he is constantly told in this movie, hey, Harry, you're going way too far.
Yeah.
She's a grown woman now.
Just leave her the fuck alone.
His fucking friends tell him that. He's like, they are creepy about it, but as creepy as that when they're like, she's a hottie, you know, she's a full-on babe, Harry, and he's not like, I'll kill you. I'll kill you dead. He's like, AJ's tongue fucking her shoulder over there, putting her engagement ring on her finger, and he's like, and they're like, man, they're watching him, watching AJ. He's like licking up the ridgeline of her shoulder blade.
It's pretty intense.
Oh, he's like, tastes like Aerosmith.
Delicious.
Which, as were you making a noise then?
No.
It sounded like you were going.
Maybe I did. Sorry.
That's all you can hear in that scene. It's Bruce Willis going. You do that noise.
Oh my god. And it's especially weird because he refers to her as his little girl.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
my little girl. I'm
Yeah.
coming back to say my little girl.
It's very much like she's mine and no one else can have her, which is fucked.
Because he's a lonely man.
Yeah.
Because his wife and her mother left him, and, you know, he's, like, pretty traumatized by that. And Will Patton even says, like, Bruce Willis says he doesn't take anything seriously about AJ. And Will Patton's like, yeah, reminds me of a guy I knew.
Yeah,
and I'm
exactly.
like, good. There's, like, everyone else around him's like, you're wrong.
You're the problem.
Yeah, which is good. But it's like, it never really seems to, like, come to fruition, other than Grace is like, I fucking hate you, Harry. She doesn't even call him Dad. And then at the end of the movie, she's like, I'm so proud of you, and I'm just like you, and I'm so proud of everything you've done, and Mum left us. She didn't just leave you.
And then he dies, and then she's probably like, oh, thank fuck.
Yeah.
That motherfucker's dead.
Because she comes out and she's smiling and she's kissing Ben Affleck.
Yeah,
and then
she's not concerned at all.
Ben Affleck's like, oh, hey, Truman, Harry wanted you to have this. And she's like, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, my dad's dead.
Just...
Oh, yeah, that guy.
She'd be like, she'd look at him with tears in her eyes and she'd say, hey, AJ, my eyes aren't the only thing that's wet. But they are so horny in this movie. Yeah. And, do you want to say it?
You say it.
The soundtrack to one of the most sexy scenes in this movie, because she's got like her exposed, she's got a bra on, but exposed
breasts.
No, well, she's got a bra on, chest and midriff area.
Yeah.
While AJ is pretending to be David Attenborough talking about animals, but they're animal crackers, and he slides one down her panties and is like, he's venturing south. The soundtrack to that scene is a song made for this movie, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I think so.
What's the actual name of it?
I Don't Want to Miss a Thing.
Don't Want to Miss a Thing.
Yeah.
Now, you might be like, who sings that? Who performs that song? Aerosmith. And the lead singer of Aerosmith is, and has always been, Steven Tyler. So, in the scene where a man slides an animal cracker down towards her vagina, and then they're on each other a bit and get hot and heavy for a bit.
Her dad
is
singing the song for that scene.
Like the romantic love song to their steamy scene is sung by her real life dad.
Yeah.
And her movie dad is like, that's my little girl. You get away from my little tiny child, sweet baby daughter. She was only just born yesterday. You touch her and I'll kill you. Like,
oh my God.
Far out,
Poor
man.
Liv Tyler.
On one hand, I'm like, she is going to hold it over Ben Affleck's head. Oh, sorry. Grace is going to hold over AJ's head for the rest of their fucking marriage and life. That my dad died just so we could be together.
Yep.
So we are going to brunch with Vivian and Pete on the weekend, okay? Just, I just think that maybe you should remember that. You should do a little bit more to remember that my dad, my daddy, he sacrificed himself for us, okay? It's very creepy.
So creepy.
I think that it tapped into that deep primal it's very common now, the daddy thing.
Yeah, for
and I
sure.
think that this movie kicked it off where young girls were like, something about this is just right to me.
Let's not get into that.
I'm not opening that can of worms.
No. The part where they're reading out the requests, where Harry's reading out all of the team's requests to Truman. I thought that was great. Yeah. Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah. Michael Bay actually had all the actors write down the notes themselves, and then Bruce Willis went out and I think it was improvised. Or maybe, they came up with it on the spot. Yeah. It was scripted in the sense that they came up with ideas, then they picked out the best ones.
Yeah.
Like getting a full week, full paid-for package at Caesar's Palace in Vegas, and
staying in the White House
the White House for the summer, and
never paying
taxes, and Noonan wants some people made legal
to
Americans.
Come in the country, yeah.
And they want to know who actually assassinated Kennedy. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I think that Bruce Willis improvised that because he didn't read that one out. It just
that was good. That was a good scene.
Keith David is good in this movie as well. We didn't talk about him before. He has a line which I won't quote because he uses the R word. People don't like that.
The R word. Oh, right.
I'll blurt it out.
Okay.
If people find it offensive, I don't think it's our place to decide what people should and shouldn't find offensive. So
fair enough.
But he says, you put the fate of the world in the hand of a bunch of who I wouldn't trust with a potato gun.
Yeah.
And he's not wrong. Like, they're not, these guys are messed up in the head.
Yeah, they're lunatics.
Yeah, like one's a mob enforcer. I think they said all of them have been to jail.
Yeah.
Just about. One of them was a commando. Chick was a commando, I think they said. Or he was in the military, I can't remember. He was a special forces or something. But he's like the most intense.
Yeah.
You know, the psychiatrist gets him in there and he's like, I can handle this. I can handle this, and smashes the table.
Yeah.
They're all a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
Which you'd have to be when you're trapped on a oil rig.
Yeah.
With just all dudes.
And Grace.
And they're all, like that's why they're all like, Harry, she's so fucking hot. I tell you, you better keep her off this oil rig one more time, and I can't handle it, man. You get her away from me.
Maybe that's why he's so protective of her.
That's why he's got the gun.
Yeah.
One of them actually got through, and he's like, son of a bitch. Am I crazy, or is it a bit like that? Like,
Yeah.
they would be chomping at the bit every time. Because Liv Tyler's pretty hot, man.
She's so beautiful.
Right. I was trying to be a bit calm about it, and you're like...
Well, I wouldn't say she's hot. I think she's very pretty.
Fair. All right, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And it goes to show, like, back to them being crazy, lunatic people. Because they just fuck everything up.
Yeah, everything goes wrong.
Yep.
Every single thing. Yeah. How many, what is it, like 12 of them?
Something like that.
I think there's 6 on each ship. And then they pick up Lev.
Yeah.
So I think because there's 3 pilots and 3 drillers.
Yeah.
Oh, there's 2 pilots, a nuclear bomb expert, and then 3 drillers.
Yeah.
So yeah, three military / NASA people, and then 3 drillers.
Yeah.
On each, there's 12 all up, and then they get Lev, so there's 13. Baker's dozen, and at the end of it, I think only 5 people live.
Yeah. Four
of the drillers die.
4 of the drillers. And
So, AJ, Rockhound, Bear, Colonel Sharp, Watts, the female pilot, who not overly sexualized. Like, one of them says that she's hot, and she just snaps at Bear.
Yeah.
And, like, I mean, I thought that was pretty hot. But, there is one bit where she's all of a sudden, her hair's down.
Yeah,
like she's got her hair down.
She's got a blowout.
Yeah, and I was just like, I see what they're doing. They're being sneaky. But, yeah, so Watts, so that's 5. And Lev, so 6 of them live.
Survived, yeah.
Yeah, everyone else eats it. So over half of them, once they pick up Lev, die.
Yeah.
So I think that's a pretty good number. Also, it's kind of lucky that only 6 of them lived, because there's only 6 seats.
Yeah. True.
Which I don't know where Lev sat when
they
they were going at 11 Gs. Was he just anchored down or something?
Yeah.
To be fair, it is kind of surprising that any of them lived, considering
that's
they
true.
only had a short amount of time to train. Although the training montage, I thought was quite good.
Yeah.
And they had access to a lot of actual NASA facilities.
Yeah, that was cool.
Which only a couple of them could actually use, because they didn't want to have too many civilians in there.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, that was good. That probably the 3 best parts of the movie were the training montage, which it's like say on one level, then way high up is the space station scene.
Yep.
And then the best part of the movie, I think, is the whole third act with on the
asteroid.
On the asteroid.
Yeah.
I think that the asteroid itself looked quite good. The sort of idea that the asteroid was somehow sentient because it starts going crazy
when they're
like just about to set the bomb off, and I'm like, as weird and out of nowhere as that is, the idea that this weird space rock has some consciousness, I think is a really cool idea. Like, it's very vague. I know that it's meant to just be a throwaway line that it knows that they're there, but I'm like, oh, I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, they
like,
kind of roll with that, though.
Yeah, that it's like starts throwing rocks around and kills a bunch of them, or one of them at least, at one point when they're about to set it off. And I'm like, that's that's like not a bad concept. And like cosmic horror is quite, I love that. It freaks me out more than anything else because it's so like color out of space.
Yeah.
And like I would say The Lighthouse would almost be cosmic horror. Like this unknowable entity type thing.
Yeah.
Stuff like that I think is really cool.
Yeah. That's Armageddon.
Ended on a happy note, I suppose, there. Do you want to give your verdict first?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I went first last week. You go first.
I'm gonna have to say trash.
Me too. Trash.
Yeah. You might think that that's unfair, and if this is your first episode, it's just one or the other.
Yeah. And I just can't give this cash.
Yeah, same. Too much about this is dumb, and just... It was hard to watch the second time.
Yeah, it was.
I was like, oh shit, we have to watch that again.
It felt like a drag to watch it again, yeah.
I was finding reasons to get up
and
like go get a drink of water or whatever.
Or talk about something,
Yeah, and we did, like, don't get me wrong, we did it right, and the first time we watched it all the way through, and then the second time we watched it all the way through, and it was just hard to watch the second time.
Yeah.
It just didn't hold up at all.
It's disappointing because, like I said before in the beginning, that I did watch this when I was younger, and I remember sobbing to death when her dad died.
Of course.
And now I'm just like, oh, whatever about that scene and just about the whole movie.
Yeah, I mean, all they needed to make was a few tweaks to the story. And like pacing and the timeline, so all story stuff.
The biggest fault is the timeline.
Yeah, and because you need a reason to get around the idea that deep core drillers would be qualified to go to space in 10 days.
Yeah,
I think that is the biggest thing that gets let down in this movie. It didn't need to be 18 days.
No, any
timeline of an asteroid that will, without a doubt, hit Earth, you don't need to make it a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Because if they announced today, in 10 years' time, an asteroid will, without a doubt, hit the Earth and wipe out all living things on Earth, we couldn't do anything about it to the best of my knowledge. So it doesn't need to be 18 days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know they never announce that because people would just be like, who fucking cares about anything?
Yeah.
It's apocalypse time.
Yep.
But it doesn't need to be, even if they didn't announce it, but let's say they came to Harry and like he did do it for fucking 10 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they could have done anything to extend the time and the movie instantly gets 10 times better.
I think 18 months would have been perfect.
Yep.
Yeah. Because
maybe they flubbed the line early on and went, fuck it, let's roll with it.
Yeah. Because, have all the same thing, recruit the team and whatever, and have the team not be able to see their family or, just training straight for 18 months.
What if they get up there and they forget what they're fighting for? They live on a fucking oil rig half the time.
And they don't even know what they're fighting for. They're all acting like crazy people.
Yeah, but you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're used to being isolated and away from their families. This is nothing new to them.
And when Harry sends them away the day before they're supposed to go to be with their families, half of them go to the fucking strip club.
Because they don't have families.
Exactly.
They live that lifestyle because... they don't have families because they live that lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I know that, like... some of them have people to go and see.
Yeah.
But Will Patton's character, Chick, he goes and sees his ex-wife, and his kid doesn't even know him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just whatever.
Yeah.
It's so silly to be like, oh, they've been here for 10 days, as opposed to an oil rig for, like, what, 3 fucking months.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're fighting for.
Yeah.
A lot of inconsistencies with the time and the effect on people.
Yeah.
And it really lets it down.
Well, you know, in those 3 days from the oil rig to when he recruits them, they did a lot, you know. AJ started up his own business.
Maybe that kid was born or like
In that 3
conceived on
days.
one day and born on the second day, and he's like 6 years old a week and a half later.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, let's not get back into it.
Who knows? Who knows? But yeah. So yeah, trash.
Yeah, trash.
And yeah, it's not surprising that this was number 1 at the box office. I mean, it is sucking America's dick so hard.
Yeah.
I think it's good to put a spotlight on like blue collar workers and have them save the day. I just think it's done. They're so obnoxious about it.
Yeah,
it's kind of annoying.
It's just kind of silly.
Yeah, like that. I'm not gonna get back into it.
Yeah.
I'm done with this movie.
But yeah, because I asked the question before, I was like, why was this the highest grossing? But it's an American hero.
And in the 90s.
Yeah, movie.
And it's Bruce Willis in his prime time.
Yeah.
You know, this was a decade after the first Die Hard movie. He was hitting and knocking it out of the park every time he made a movie. This one technically included. You know, he only did this because he was making some movie, I can't remember what it was called, and it wasn't working out. So he made a deal with Disney, which led to making this, and then another 2 movies, which were The Sixth Sense. We didn't say that before, did we? About his movies? He's in The Sixth... Oh, we did? Okay, good, because people will come after us. And Unbreakable.
Yeah.
2 of his best, and 2 of... I haven't seen The Sixth Sense in a while, but Unbreakable is one of my favourite movies. And... So I think that this was a blessing.
Yeah.
If we had to put up with this to get those 2 movies, sure,
true,
great.
True. But yeah, this is got a lot of famous actors. It's Independence Day vibes.
Yep.
And an American heroic movie, so no wonder it was highest grossing.
Nobody does America better than Michael Bay.
Yeah.
And having a true American hero who was born in Germany, like Bruce Willis, and Will Patton and William Fichtner, and Ben Affleck was pretty young then, but still he was on the rise. Those guys, and Billy Bob Thornton, you know, like that's prime time casting back then. Now it's still good, but you know, that's mwah.
Yeah.
So no surprise at all.
Yep.
Doesn't hold up.
No,
at all, though,
no.
unfortunately. But anyway.
So that has been the highest grossing movie of 1998.
Do you want to tell us where people can find us?
Yep. So if you want to support us, please check out our Patreon. When we've got, is it 2? 3 tiers at the moment.
3 tiers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once
we
get
don't
a
have
few
much
more,
to offer.
Yeah. Once we get a few more people, I think we can offer some bonus episodes and stuff like that.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we want to get into that, so please check us out.
Yeah, 'cause it gives us money, which, if you like us and you want us to get like better mics and be able to do more, at the moment we're only really able to do the 1 episode a week.
Yeah.
You know, if people want bonus episodes, if they want sort of different stuff that we've got in mind, we would need financial
Funds.
help.
Yeah.
So
it's
please.
just the way it is. It feels awkward saying that, but it's like that's the only reason why anyone can do this kind of thing.
I have heard a fair few podcasts say that they wouldn't even have been able to continue the 1 podcast they're doing if it wasn't for Patreon.
Yeah.
Or even if it's not specifically Patreon, those sorts of things.
Our Instagram is at Cash vs Trash Pod, And our listening apps are Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and you can also find us on YouTube. All the links will be in the description.
Yep. You can also find us on Audible. Yeah, if you want to get in contact with us, drop us a message through Instagram or comment on our YouTube stuff if you want. But the best place to do it would be emailing us at cashversustrashpod@gmail.com. I've got it hooked up to my phone. It'll come directly through to me. And you may or may not get a reply, but depending on what it is, if you have a question or something, we could have a bit where we read questions or something like that out on the podcast.
Yeah.
Or, have like special episodes where we do Q&A stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got distracted there. The way the thing is in front of your face, you look identical to Bane from The Dark Knight Rises. The way the pop filter was in front of you and came up there. So yeah, this has been what's a movie called? Armageddon. I almost said something else. And the highest grossing movie of 1998. Next week we'll be wrapping up 1998 with the lowest grossing out of the top 200. We have to say, it has to be a fair fight.
Yeah.
And that's just the easiest way to do it. So if you listen to this and go, this movie made $1 million, there's no way it's the lowest.
You're right.
Yeah, but if we picked the actual lowest, I mean, these days it'd be like number 3,000 and something that only got released in like one art house theater.
Yeah. And
it's not really fair to compare them because we don't shy away from tearing into movies when they're bad. And I think that the ones that are, around 200 mark, as long as they were released worldwide, it's a fair fight.
Yeah.
They were released to a fair few countries, enough to be higher than what they were.
Yeah.
And that's, we don't want to be cruel, we or I especially aspire to one day, get into this business proper, and I wouldn't appreciate it if I put together a little movie and somebody just tore it to pieces when it never stood a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
So we don't want to do that.
Also, the movies, like the actual lowest grossing movie, probably would be impossible to find.
Bloody oath. Anyway, up next week is Cousin Bet, starring Jessica Lange and Elizabeth Shue and I can't remember the guy's name. Not Hugh Laurie.
Yeah.
What is he?
Yeah.
It was somebody else that I read out.
The guy who played House.
Yeah.
Yeah, him.
Oh, okay, he's in it. But there was somebody else. Bob Hoskins, I think. I think.
Anyway.
Don't quote me on it.
Tune in next week.
This has been the Cash versus Trash podcast.
See ya.